Hank Aaron, oh, this is a great story. He was the minor league director when I was drafted in 1976. I was playing semi-pro baseball out in Eureka, California. My dad was at my house. Hank Aaron was the minor league director. I get drafted in the 5th round in 1976. Hank Aaron calls my house. My dad answers the phone. And he says, Mr. Benedict? He said, yeah. He goes, this is Hank Aaron, Atlanta Braves. He says, yeah, right. Hangs up. Hank Aaron, just true story. Hank calls back, says the same thing. Mr. Benedict, your son Benedict, yeah, right. Hangs up on Hank Aaron. Finally, the 3rd time, he said, Dave, we drafted your son in the 5th round. Please don't hang up, whatever. So I said to my dad's dying dad, I said, Dad, you're the only human being in the history of the world in communication that's hung up on Hank Aaron twice on a phone call. But that happened. My dad was in Omaha, Nebraska. After that, my dad called me. I was in Eureka, California, playing for the Humboldt State Crabs, and then flew to Atlanta and worked out, and then signed.
I might say about Hank. I was in the major leagues when he took over the minor leagues, so I didn't really have like direct contact with him, but he came down and talked to me, about hitting every once in a while, but he never came down unless he was invited. I'm sure he was up there a lot of times in his office, Fulton County Stand, going, what is Murph doing? But he always respected our hitting coaches, and when he came down there and talked to me about hitting, I'd be like in the back of my mind, yeah, you're Hank Aaron, man. It's like when I met Ted Williams at the Hall of Fame game one year, guys. Remember we used to do that? He watched all the games on TBS. And he goes, Dale Murphy, yeah, good to meet you. This is Ted Williams. You got to get a better pitch to hit. I'm like, you're Ted Williams, man. That's easy for you to say. You struck out 20 times a year. Anyway.
You mentioned maybe Snit could shed some light on this a little bit because he called all the time. We lost Phil Negro in the last year. And ladies and gentlemen, maybe the finest Hall of Famer, maybe of all time that you would ever come across, and a nice person.
It was pretty amazing to have Hank and Nuxie. I mean, some really great individuals. Let me just ask Benny this. What did Nuxie say about you in the Hall of Fame?
Every place I ever went with Phil, and we did some charity stuff every year, the first thing he said, he goes, I'm not in the Hall of Fame without him. Which is
You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I do appreciate it. While you're here, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with the Atlanta Braves. And if you don't know, today was opening day. The Braves, of course, took the field in Nationals Park against the Washington Nationals. It was a strange game. Sunlight was affecting everybody pretty early on and really throughout the game. That's what happens when you give the Braves a 105 start. Patrick Corbin only threw 3 innings total, and Max Fried only threw 3 and a third. Of course, he was taken out due to left hamstring discomfort. Whatever you take from that, take from it. But yeah, it was an odd game, no doubt about it. Patrick Corbin got beat up by the Braves offense early. The Braves scored 3 runs in the second inning, which is always a good thing to hear. They also scored 3 runs in the 9th inning, so they don't have a problem in hitting late and early. Of course, we've battled that over the years, but the Braves seem to be hitting on all cylinders to start this season. The guy that stood out above the rest today, I think without a doubt, would have to be Travis d'Arnaud. Travis d'Arnaud was 4 for 5 today. I'm looking at his line right now. 4 for 5. He scored 2 runs. He had 2 RBIs. When your average is 800 on opening day, that's not a bad way to start. There were others who performed as well. Austin Riley didn't put a ball in the air, but he walked a run in. He had 3 walks today, along with a strikeout, but he did have 3 walks. The other guy I want to talk about, Orlando Arcia. Orlando scored a run today. He also drove in a run. He had an RBI. Look, a lot of people have brought up Orlando Arcia as one of these guys, that we need to keep an eye on in terms of he may not be able to, hold up what Dansby Swanson left behind. Of course, he got thrown into this starting spot for opening day kind of last minute from the eyes of fans, but I think the Braves from the beginning thought he was a legit contender for that spot, at least for opening day. He, again, was one of the runs scored early. And look, this is a guy who is going to be able to fill that hole, at least for the time being. But the Braves also signed him to a 3-year, $7.3 million deal. No matter what you think about that, I don't think he's going to be a starting shortstop. I don't think that's what that deal was. I think they want him here long-term for the bench in a utility role. I think he's still serving a utility role, but he's doing it well, and that's all that matters. So Orlando Arcia getting the 2023 season started, right? But again, the real key player today was Travis d'Arnaud, at least offensively. A lot of people have talked about, can d'Arnaud just be a DH? Is he built for that? Look, he did well today. Sean Murphy also got introduced to Braves country today, and look, he went 0 for 5. Obviously not a great debut, but there's yet to be seen. We know what Sean Murphy is. We know what he can do. The guy's an absolute stud, and we know what we brought to Atlanta when we got him. He may have started off slow today, but it's one game. It's also one game where with a lot of pressure. It's his first game with the team, and he wants to do well. I think once he gets comfortable in Atlanta, it's going to be just fine. So, slow start for Sean Murphy, but a great start for Travis d'Arnaud. Both of those guys, I think, make up the best catching tandem in baseball. Find me another one better between the duo. I think this team is going to do well. The other thing I wanted to mention was something that Brandon Gowden brought up today was the speed of this team. This team was spectacular running the bases today. You had infield hits left and right, including one for Travis d'Arnaud, actually. But Ronald Acuna looked really good today. Of course, we know this is the first full year he's had, or I think the best chance we've had to see him since getting hurt back in 2020, be what Ronald Acuna Jr. can be, at least running the bases wise. That knee looks a lot better. He had a couple of infield hits today, so that was a good thing to see. Michael Harris, obviously, is Michael Harris. Ozzie Albies returns to the lineup as well. Those were the good things. The one thing that we haven't really talked enough about just yet is Max Fried. Of course, Max Fried gets taken out today. Always, anytime a pitcher walks off the mound, when they're pitching well and that kind of thing, it's always something to raise your eyebrow at. The quote that the Braves put out, at least what they're describing this as, is left hamstring discomfort. Okay, it's not he tore something. It's nothing like that. I think he may miss one start, but I don't think this is going to be a lasting issue. I think this is something that really was done in an abundance of caution. I tweeted that earlier. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter, where I would live tweet my thoughts on games and that kind of thing. At Tyler Redmond TV, it's right there. That's Twitter and Instagram, so make sure you follow me there. But no, I don't think this is something that the Braves are going to have to really worry about for the foreseeable future. I think Max Fried is going to be back. He may even not miss a start. He may be, this is something they're going to monitor, but I don't believe this is something that's going to be a lasting issue. He did not look overly distressed. He did not look to be in that much pain. He obviously didn't feel good enough to continue, but I don't think that really means anything. The important thing to me from today is he was pitching well. I mean, his pitch count was low in the third inning. He probably could have gone 7-8 innings based on where he was at the time. Of course, we don't know what the fourth and fifth inning would have been. But what that did do, what Max Fried's exit early did do, was give us kind of an early foreshadowing of the bullpen this year. They had 5 guys come out of the pen in this game, and all of them pitched pretty decently. Lucas Letge threw an inning. He gave up 2 hits. Both of those, I think, were in the inning following the fourth. He came in the fourth inning and I believe was 3 up, 3 down after that. So that was a good thing to see. Jesse Chavez comes in. He gives up 2 hits, and he also gives up that. Those were the 2 runs that came with Jesse Chavez. That's not overly surprising. We know who Jesse Chavez is. He comes in to fill in long relief. He's not a guy that's going to strike out a ton of guys. He's a guy that puts bat to ball, gets contact. And Lucas Letge is that guy as well. Guys that don't blow you away, but they can get outs, and they can go for an extensive time if you need them to go. They can cover those innings. So that's what I took away from those 2 guys. After that, following that, was Dylan Lee. Dylan Lee only threw 2/3 of an inning. He gave up a walk, no hits though, no strikeouts. I thought he got 2 outs, and look, it's the first game. Colin McHugh threw 1 2/3, which was a good thing to see. What I want you to notice is how much these guys all together are covering, because you also throw in AJ Minter, who had a decent ninth. He gave up 1 hit, or 1 walk, rather. He had a decent ninth, but he threw the inning, and, this is all without Raisel Iglesias. Ideally, it would have been without A.J. Minter, but being that the Braves scored 3 in the ninth, he was already warm. They brought him out there just because, why not? You have an off day tomorrow. I thought the bullpen was another star of the show. Travis d'Arnaud is going to get the post. He's going to get the attention, but the bullpen was something I want you guys to take note of, because they're going to matter throughout the end of this year and throughout this entire season. The bullpen is going to be very important. Some of these guys may not be around next week. Lucas Letge, it would be, I think, the prime candidate there. Guys that just made it on the roster, but if you saw the roster, which I don't have here today, but if you saw the roster, one guy that wasn't on it was Dylan Dodd. So they're going to have to make space for him. They've already said he's probably going to get a start towards the beginning of the season. So somebody is going down. But we'll see. But yeah, the bullpen was effective, and that goes to show just the depth, and it goes to show how good the bullpen can be, especially when Raisel Iglesias comes back. So just take note of that. Those are my thoughts of today. Hard to take away a lot from one game, especially opening day. Again, in a very strange set of circumstances, very odd game. A lot of plays that weren't made due to the sunlight again, and both starting pitchers not making it past the third inning, or past the fourth inning rather. It's just a very odd game, but it's a game that we can take something from. It's the offense again. When you score 7 runs, you should win the game. The Braves were able to do that, and it's good to get them on the right foot. Of course, last year they got off to a really slow start, and that's kind of what got the Braves so behind the Mets last year was, that slow start. They got 10.5 games back, and then they had to climb out of that hole. Hopefully this year the Braves won't have to do that, and of course, if they don't do that, I think they can compete with anybody. They can get to the postseason and not be out of gas once they make it, which is important. So we'll see. We'll monitor it. But, yeah, Game 2 is on Saturday. No game tomorrow. But Game 2 is Saturday. This is, it's a 3-game series. The Sunday game will be the finale. So hopefully the Braves can get an opening series sweep. That would be ideal. But no matter what, today was a good thing. And this was just a good start to the season. A win is always a good start to the season, but to see the offense hit like they did, to see the bullpen come in like they did, we know what Max Fried's going to do once he's either healthy again or comes back from whatever this setback is. We know what he's going to do. But to see the guys that we were not unsure about, but the guys that haven't been shown to us, to see them firsthand was a good thing to see. And to see them cover, 5 innings with only 2 runs given up, and those 2 runs really were given up by Lucas Letge and Jesse Chavez. That was a good thing to see. So we'll, of course, be here with you Saturday and watch with you as well. But no, I want to hear what you guys had to say about it, so make sure to drop your comments down below. And, of course, also make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Really would appreciate it. So now let's get into what you guys want to talk about. I will be monitoring the chat. Remember, Super Chats do get priority. I got to be out of here right around 6:20. I have an interview that you guys will see on the channel either later on tonight or tomorrow. Pretty good interview. Looking forward to it. So not going to spoil who it is yet, but you'll see it on the channel. So make sure to get it in quickly. I will be answering as many of these as I can, but again, Super Chats do get priority. Also, want to remind you to check out the On Deck shop. Of course, you can check on the shop. The QR code is over there. The link is also in the description. Guys, there's products there. There's hats, there's t-shirts, there's sweatshirts, all kinds of things. There's pennants. Anything that you could want with that On Deck logo on it, plus the old On Deck logo, is on there. So go check that out. Really would appreciate you guys doing that. And, of course, always love to see people wearing the On Deck merch. So if you got it, put it on, take a picture, send it in, and I'll shout you out here on the channel. Always appreciate that. Now, let's talk about what you guys want to talk about. And, again, appreciate you tuning in. Please make sure to share this video as well. Really would appreciate it. Tell your friends about it. Tell them we're here and tell them we'll be here throughout the entire season. All right, let's see. Yasuki Knight says, good win for the Braves today. Hopefully Max is okay. Again, I do think Max will be okay. Again, I also tweeted that earlier right when it happened. He didn't seem to be overly distressed. He just, abundance of caution. You don't want anything worse to happen on opening day. You're playing the Nationals, who were last place in the NL East last year, probably will be the same place this year. And you had a lead at the time. No reason to push him further than that. Maybe if it was the postseason, I guess, but no reason to push him further than what he is comfortable with. And he obviously seemed uncomfortable in that moment, but I think he'll be just fine. So we'll of course continue to monitor it, but yeah, we'll see. Let's see. What's up, Blake? What's up, Jameson? Steve Hampton says, the boys look sloppy today, knocking some rust off, I suppose. Yeah, so I spoke about that a little bit. I think in the field, a lot of that can be blamed on sunlight. You saw the Nationals struggle with that as well. And I'm not, making excuses, but if you've ever played the outfield or if you ever try to catch a ball in direct sunlight, it is a legit thing. I think some of that was the early start, but it's also opening day. There's no doubt about it. Knocking some rust off. I thought the at-bats were the opposite. I thought they all looked very focused in the at-bats. They all looked really disciplined in the at-bats. I mentioned Austin Riley had 3 walks today. Had a strikeout too, but had 3 walks today. That shows patience. And for Riley specifically, it shows some development. I remember a few years ago he didn't have a walk, to save his life. So that's what I took away from it, at least in the at-bats. They looked really disciplined. In the field, room for improvement, no doubt. But hopefully after some night games, they'll start to look better. I think the 1 o'clock game, the Sun, it's a legit thing. Now, granted, these are professional players. They gotta step up and play no matter what. But I definitely think the sun was affecting both teams today. It seemed to be, for at least a couple innings, be coming right over the edge of the stadium and right into the eye line. Again, not an excuse, just a reason. But, yeah, I would definitely say they looked a little sloppy. Double A doubles down on Arcia, 3-year contract, but says it shouldn't affect the kids. I don't know. I'll trust Double A until I can't anymore. Exactly, right? I think Double A has proven he has the Braves' best interest in mind. He has the long-term interest in mind. I don't think Arcia is the starting shortstop for the next 3 years. I don't. He may be this year, possibly, but I don't even think he's that. I think he is legitimately a fill-in until either Vaughn Grissom or Braden Shoemaker are ready to go. And at that point, I think he'll be treated as a bench bat. Now, however you look at that, that's how I look at it. Vaughn Grissom, I think he's got plenty of potential. I really do. I also don't think he was necessarily ready. I told you that from the beginning. I did not think Vaughn Grissom was necessarily super ready to go for the major league level. Now, did I think the Braves may go get another shortstop in free agency? Yes, I did. But they also, if you step back and realize the Braves have always valued their young stars. I remember when, we were possibly talking about trading Michael Harris, which sounds like idiocy now, but that was a conversation, a few years ago. So they've always valued the younger players for the better, and we'll, of course, see what Vaughn Grissom and Braden Shoemaker develop into. I think they're going to be, at least one of them will be, the future shortstop. I think right now I'm leaning Vaughn Grissom. I think that's what the Braves are leaning. They obviously, over the offseason wanted him to work with Ron Washington, quite a bit, and they spoke about how hard he works and, that kind of thing. I don't think it's going to affect Vaughn Grissom. I think Vaughn Grissom is the future guy. I think they're making a point to make sure we know he is the future guy. It really, to me, reminds me of the Josh Donaldson, Austin Riley dilemma we had a few years ago. I say dilemma, but it was a good problem to have. You have your choice. You can either go with the former MVP or you can go with a potential future MVP. Now, I don't think Orlando Arcia is, he's obviously not a former MVP. I don't think he's an MVP caliber player, but what he is a former everyday shortstop for the Milwaukee Brewers, who were in the postseason at the time. They were a good team. They were a competitive team. He knows how to play the position. He knows how to do it well, and he can hit pretty well too. So again, I don't think this is a permanent fixture, but I think if in this situation it makes sense. And I also think that, I think Vaughn Grissom is going to be the future. But, we'll monitor it. I think the Braves are going to make the best decision, at the time, and whatever that time may be. Maybe it's a month and a half away. Maybe it's next year. But Vaughn Grissom never had any time at AAA, had very little time in AA, is very young and inexperienced. And as well as he hit when he first came in, it really fell off towards the end of the year last year. His defense was a little lacking throughout spring training, just my opinion there. I think it can get better. I think, between him and Shoemaker, they're two sides of a different coin, or they're two sides of the same coin. One of them is a really good defender, and the other is a really good hitter. And whichever one can develop the other skill quicker will be the guy they call upon. I think logic says it's easier to develop a glove than it is to develop a bat, at the major league level at least. I think, your bat takes a little more time to develop, and being that Vaughn Grissom has already had success there, I think that favors him. And if he can develop his glove and get better, maybe put him in left. We've had enough struggles there. Eddie Rosario's a free agent at the end of the year. Marcell Ozuna's not exactly the greatest fielder. Vaughn Grissom's young enough. Maybe you can transition him to being an outfielder, even though I think the goal is to make him a shortstop. They're both valuable. That's just me thinking out loud. But I do think there are options that the Braves can do. I think there's plenty of, spots for these guys, and one of them probably will be traded at some point if they hold value. But we'll see. We'll see. That's all we can really say, though. I thought Arcia looked good today for the most part. He had the one missed fly ball in the sun, but I'm knocking that up to the sun. I think he catches that in any other day of the week. Let's see. Let's see. All right, so Max is going to the IL. Thank you for telling me, Blake. I haven't had a chance to really follow it, but I can try to find the update. That I think that's again an abundance of caution. The Braves are, that does seem to kind of get in the way of Kyle Wright, because Kyle Wright is already okay, so Snit said Fried will likely go onto the injured list. Kyle Wright is already there. So you may see Dylan Dodd come to the roster a little bit sooner to cover that spot. Beyond Dylan Dodd and Jared Schuster, we were already talking about a 6-man rotation in spring training. I thought that was a little early. But Spencer will be taking the mound on Saturday. Following him, I assume, will be Morton. And then Schuster, because he's already on the roster. Following him will be Dodd. But look, this is the good part about depth. You're down Kyle Wright and you're down Fried, at least potentially right now. If that's the case, you do have Bryce Elder, you do have Ian Anderson in the minors who you can call upon. They both have major league experience. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. And when I look ahead to the next few games, and I'm going to actually pull up the Braves schedule, I believe they have the Padres coming up in a couple of series. I don't know that I'd want to do it then. So, yeah, you got the Cardinals next. They're a young team. You can afford to kind of mix and match there if you wanted to throw in Schuster and maybe save Strider and Morton for the Padres following that series with the Cardinals. But, again, you do have Anderson and Bryce Elder that you can mix in with the Cardinals. And, look, that's me pre-planning. But you can also save them to face the Reds, but I would not put them in that 4-game series with the Padres. I think it can still happen. I mean, they may elect to do that. But if it was me with the best chance to win, I put Anderson Elder against either the Cardinals or the Reds. Or even Schuster and Dodd. I try to mix and match there, put Strider up against the Padres, which I think he would have at least one start. I think he'd have a start in that series because it is a 4-game. But, yeah, you got Wright and Fried on the IL. I think you can obviously replace one with Schuster and Dodd. But, it's going to be interesting. Going to be very, very interesting. But that's the good part about depth. That's why the Braves have it. Guys, if you would do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on with your Atlanta Braves. Not to mention what's going on here at On Deck. We do have an interview that I'm actually doing tonight in about an hour, so please get your questions in. Remember, Super Chats do get priority. That interview, I can't tell you who it's with just yet. That interview will be coming out tomorrow, and it will be dropping, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can be updated when that drops. But looking forward to doing that interview. It's going to be pretty good. But we'll see. Blake says there's a chance we have to go through Philadelphia, San Diego, St. Louis, and Houston this month without Max, Kyle, and Mike. That's nasty stuff. So, again, yeah, like I'm looking at this schedule, right? You got a 3-game series. Well, you got the 2 games with the Nationals. We already know Strider's taking the mound on Saturday. So, if he's pitching every 5th day, you're talking... He's probably getting the first game against the Padres, and you go from there. I think Fried misses one start, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be... I don't know. I don't know that it's going to be... We'll see when Fried gets back. That's all we can really plan for. I think Wright will obviously be back first. Anderson and Elder, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they got a call up and you sacrificed a couple of bullpen arms to do it. Because like you mentioned... I don't think we're going to have to go through Houston. I don't think it's going to be quite that long. I guess 16-day IL. So if they're on the 16-day IL, they'll be back by April 15th. So they'll be back just in time for the second Padres series. So we have 2 Padres series in the month of April. They'll ideally be back depending on what their condition is. I don't think it's going to be any longer than 16 days, but I'm not a doctor. I don't even know what the issues are. But I think they'll be back for the second series against the Padres and the series against Houston. What you really want to look to is the series against the Mets. You got a 4-game series with the Mets at the end of April, beginning of May. That's really what you want to pay attention to. That's really what you want to focus on. But you also don't want to get into that 10.5 game deficit that you got into last year. So, again, if it's me, if I'm managing the team, I try my best to plan ahead and mix and match. Put, Ian Anderson and Bryce Elder up against guys that are at their level, teams that are at their level. And the Padres, hate to say it, aren't it. And that goes for Schuster and Dodd, too. As good as they've been during spring training. The moment Dodd faced the Dominican Republic World Classic team, which was, frankly, a lot of the Padres, it's just a tough sell for me. So we'll see, but, we'll follow it. Captain Spartan, let's just be honest, Max Fried just wanted the Soroka to get some. He said, let's just be honest, Max Fried just wanted Soroka to get some action. Soroka's got some time. I think he very well could make a run this year. I just want him to pitch. I don't know that it's going to be as a starter. I would take anything at this point to see Soroka back on the mound, even if it's in a bullpen role. And maybe develop him over time to get, back to the starting rotation. We'll see. Steve says, glad we finally won the first game of the season. No kidding. I don't know when the last opening day win was, but it sure has been a while. So, yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. Let's see. Nicholas says he caved and bought MLB TV. Worth it as long as they aren't playing the New York teams. Yeah, it's, look, I don't know exactly what is the best option. I got Bally Sports, luckily, so I can watch any Braves game, but there's a lot of games across Major League Baseball that I can't watch, which is insane to me that we're still in this world, because I can watch any football game I want to, no matter if it's college, NFL, I can watch hockey, I can watch basketball, no matter what it is, I can find it. So it's just amazing to me that we're still battling this, and hopefully Major League Baseball can make it better. By the way, speaking of Major League Baseball making things better, the pitch clock today. One of my good buddies posted the game time for today, and it's no different than any year before. 3 hours and 7 minutes. It's just amazing to me. Robert asks who is pitching Saturday for the Braves. That would be Spencer Strider. At least right now, they could change plans due to Max Fried now being on the IL, but I would assume it's still going to be Strider. Jamison Meza says Orlando is already earning his money. Philip Nichols says the sun was killer today. Everyone was struggling out there. Yeah, even the Nationals were struggling. I'm glad it wasn't me out there. I'll just put it that way. Ronald already got his first stolen base, so he is on pace for 162 steals. That would be great. That would be outstanding. Thank you, Steve. Joe Reese, if Fried's hamstring puts him out on the IL, we may see Soroka quicker than they planned. I really don't think so. I don't think so. A lot of people are going to jump to that. I've already seen it a few times in the comments. I don't think that's the plan. I don't think they're going to go to Soroka there. I mean, you just have too many options ahead of Soroka to rush his development, especially with all the health issues that have come from rushing Soroka's health development. As much as I would absolutely love to see Soroka ready to go and be able to pitch, in the next 3 days or the next week, it's not going to happen. He is 2 weeks away. You saw him at the tail end of spring training. He wasn't ready then. I don't think he's ready now. I would love for Soroka to make it. I am a big fan of Soroka, for what he did a few years ago, for, the story that it would be to see him back. Of course, if you haven't seen it, I actually interviewed Soroka at the tail end of spring training. That video is on the channel. He talks about his condition. He talks about his development. He talks about the support from not only the fans, but the organization. It's a really good interview. I would love to see Soroka back, but I think he's a couple weeks away. At least. I think he might be a month away. And, you might be shaking your head at that, but do you really want, if you think about it, do you really want to risk Soroka possibly getting hurt again? I mean, I know I don't. I don't want to risk that. I want him to take his time. If they call him back, I trust the Braves medical staff to know that he's healthy and ready to go, but I also don't want to rush them to get him back, if that makes any sense. So, thank you for the comment, though, but I don't think Soroka is the plan. I think it would obviously, to me, fall Strider, Morton, Schuster, and then Dodd. Following them would be either Anderson or Elder. I probably lean Elder there. I think he's got better stuff at this point. Anderson's trying to work that slider, but it didn't pan out in spring training, and I think at least Elder has a few more options to mix in. But look, it may not fall to either of them. They may go to a 4-man rotation for the time being. There's a lot that can happen. We'll, again, continue to follow it, continue to monitor it, but that's all we can do, for me, I don't think Fried's going to be out, longer than 2 weeks. I mean, 16-day IL, you're looking at April 16th. We'll follow it, but hate to see it start the season that way. I mean, he was pitching again very well, and you never want that to happen. But at least the Braves were able to get the win. Hopefully, the offense will be able to kind of help these young pitchers through it and develop them through it as well. So, guys, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that are notified when we go live, when we drop videos, and all that stuff. We got plenty coming throughout the regular season and into the postseason, so you're not going to want to miss it. We already have a really good community here at On Deck and would love for you to join. So make sure to subscribe and, of course, tell your friends about it. Also, check out the On Deck shop over there at the QR code. Plenty of merchandise there. Would really appreciate you checking that out. A lot of you guys have already done that and have purchased from there. Really do appreciate that. Remember to send pictures of you. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, right over there. Send them that way, and I'll, of course, give you a shout-out. So thanks for that. Let's see. Strikeout. Says, I haven't kept up with recent news. Is Soroka pitching soon? We just talked about that. I'm going to go ahead and move on. But it could happen, but I would lean probably another 2 weeks to a month. I think they're going to want to see what he does in the minors and kind of monitor his health and ability. What was good about spring training, the defense kind of failed him, but what was good about Soroka in spring training was he was getting off the mound and making plays too. It wasn't just, he didn't look limited in any way, if that makes sense. He looked like he could still go. But that needs to be over some time. We need to kind of analyze what he's doing. Let's see. Brandon Edwards says, if, and that's a big if. Sorry about that, guys. My mother's calling. If, and that's a big if, both shortstop are able to develop into complete players, Shoemake could be the starting shortstop, move to left field. Or Grissom move to left field. That could happen. That's kind of what I'm getting at. If both of them develop, that could happen. But I don't think... I think it's kind of a tough sell to believe that both of these guys are going to develop. Now, it'd be great if they did. I think it's tough to expect that. If it does happen, I think it's obvious. I think that's obviously what you do. You have your whole lineup, ready to go for the next decade, if that's the case. But anyway, I wish I could turn the ringer off. Anyway, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen, but, we'll see. We'll try to follow it the best we can. Jameson says, for me, I prefer to listen to the radio broadcast. Can listen to the Braves game for free on 680 The Fan app, just saying. Yeah, I listen to the radio broadcast quite a bit. I thought, I actually listened to both today. I had to run some errands, and I was listening to one and watching another at one time. I thought that, the television broadcast was good today, even without Chip Carey. I thought the new crew was great. I thought, the radio broadcast is always pretty stellar with Ben Ingram. They all do a very good job. But, we'll continue to watch it and see how it turns out. Joe Reese says, I just read Verlander is going to the IL with an upper arm, another setback for the Mets. Yeah, the Mets have setback after setback. It's kind of who they are. Of course, Diaz gets hurt in the World Baseball Classic. Never want to see that. Even if it is the Mets, you never want to see that. He's a great talent. I honestly, I enjoyed watching him play last year. Not necessarily against the Braves, but I enjoyed watching him play. The whole presentation of his walkout, that whole thing was good for baseball. It got people talking about baseball. You never want to see them get hurt in any team, any organization. You never want to see it. Now, that being said, it did happen, and it is what it is. Now Verlander's hurt. He's on the 16-day IL. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's much like Fried and Wright, but it is another setback. The Braves, obviously have a plan in place for that. They have depth. I don't know that the Mets have that. And, that's kind of why they signed Verlander and Scherzer, was because they didn't have anybody for these next couple of years. They, of course, if you ask any Mets fan, they claim that their prospects are coming and, just wait, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how their farm system really is. I know they got a couple of guys, Brett Beatty, but I don't know how their pitching is. Verlander was a guy they were hoping to pay, get a year out of, maybe 2, and get some results. Being that this is the start for it, it is kind of interesting. I mean, look, I said all off season, I'm not paying no matter who it is, I'm not paying somebody Verlander's age that much money. I'm just not, and neither are the Braves. They're not in that kind of market. They're just New York teams do what they do, and credit to them, they got the money to do it. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's good business, but we'll see. Mets fans claims they have it, so we'll see. Of course, I'm wishing the best for Diaz, Verlander, Fried, anybody, Kyle Wright, anybody that's on the IL. You want those guys to be able to pitch to the best of their ability and let the best man win. But, that's what happens when you sign somebody Verlander's age. Now, granted, Fried's much younger, Kyle Wright's much younger. Injuries happen, but, we'll just have to see how it goes. That's kind of my thoughts on that. Apparently, Robbie Grossman just hit a 3-run homer. That's great. Jameson Meza, be extremely patient with Michael Soroka because I want to see him pitch for the Atlanta Braves this season if it happens. I think he will. But like you said, I want the Braves to be just as patient as they have been. I want them to keep being that. That would be ideal. Steve Hampton says, poor Mets, Verlander already on the IL. I mean, I want the Mets to be 100% when we play them, just like when we swept them with their top 3 starters of last year's season. Yeah, that's kind of what you want, right? You don't want to face a weakened team, which, don't get me wrong, we'll take it sometimes, but you don't want teams to be hurt. You want teams to be as good as they can be so that when you beat them, it feels just as good, right? Like if Scherzer, had been injured, in 2020 or last year, 2022, that sweep of them wouldn't have been as nice. It was nice that we were able to beat them no matter who they put out there. That was a good feeling. I agree with that. Chris Fields says, what's up, Tyler? Go Braves. Undefeated so far in 2023. Yeah, absolutely. That's how we want to keep it, at least for the first 3 games, right? Summit Carr says, love this channel. Appreciate all that you do for Braves country. Braves, Seattle, World Series. Go Braves. Hey, look, I wouldn't be mad at that, but hopefully the Braves win it. Thank you for the comment. Hope you'll subscribe if you haven't already. And I love putting this content out there for you. So I do it when I can, and I do it as much as I can. We'll see. Brandon Edwards says, I've liked Gowden quite a bit. Yeah, look, I told you all off season I didn't know anything about the guy other than, what he posted about sending Skip Carey a letter. And he seems like, he obviously loves the Braves, wants to be here. He obviously knew his stuff today. I thought he was really good. He meshed well with Jeff Francoeur. I thought it was a great broadcast, even without Paul Bird and Brian Jordan in postgame. I thought it was good. We'll every year there's a little bit of differences, and we'll, of course, monitor it. But, yeah, I thought he was very good. Steve Hampton says, Braves and everyone else, for that matter, have dealt with injuries, so no one is feeling sorry for them, for the Mets. In fact, we don't sign anyone like that unless his name is Charlie Morton. Yeah, I mean, but even the deal that we signed with Charlie Morton was nothing compared to the deal that they signed with Justin Verlander. Now, granted, if there's a 38-year-old that you want, maybe 39, if there's somebody close to 40 that you want to pay that much, Verlander and Scherzer are the guys. No doubt about that. But there's nobody that I necessarily want to pay that much. I mean, because you risk injury and you risk being left, you risk being left, without a paddle. Philip Nichols with the super chat. Thank you for that, Philip. Really do appreciate it. He says, Gowden did okay today. I think he'll get better with time once he gets to know the team better. Everyone looked good at the plate overall. Fielding was okay. It was a warm-up game. Yeah, to your point, and thank you for the super chat, but to be able to start this year with the Nationals is a great thing. And I didn't even get to mention that. To be able to start this year with the Nationals, it's like, how like college teams have a tune-up game? Like, how do I put this? How Georgia plays like, Austin P. You know how Georgia plays Austin P in the first game of the year? This was that, right? Like a playoff contender playing not a playoff contender. And I think it gave the Braves an opportunity to get their feet wet a little bit into this season. And, obviously we would have loved to see Sean Murphy come out and hit 3 for 4, and we would have loved to see Acuna hit a homer, and, but what we got was an offense that drove in runs. They drove in 7 runs. Now, they did it with infield hits. They did it with, doubles. They did it with walks. But, guys, that's baseball. It doesn't matter how you get them. You got 7 of them, and you won the game. And you also held them to 2 with a bullpen game, essentially. So I thought it was a really good game. I thought it was, everybody was involved, which was good. Hopefully we see a little bit more of the pitching staff being involved, and throughout. I say that the pitching staff, the starting rotation, being involved throughout more of the game, because obviously you'd love to see Max Fried go 7 innings and not walk off with a left hamstring discomfort. But like you said, this was a warm-up game. In terms of the broadcast, I thought Gowden did well. I think he did better than okay. I think he did well. I think he'll only get better. And look, I'm rooting for him here in Braves country. We'll see kind of how he does. Nicholas says, how did Glavine do on Bally? Was he on today? He was not. I know they are involving him throughout the year, but he was not on there today. Philip Nichols says, I still have some video for you, Tyler, of the Greenwood Brave Stadium. Just been busy. No worries. Just get it to me. It's no rush. It'll be okay. Brandon Edwards says those are called money games. He's talking about when Georgia plays Austin P. Yeah, that's what they are. And not that, this is a money game, but it's a tune-up game. It gives the Braves the ability to walk in and face, a team that doesn't have a chance of really making it to the postseason, a team that's kind of strung together. We saw a good example of that when Patrick Corbin only threw 3 innings, threw 1 pitch in the 4th, gave up a double to Matt Olson, and they got taken out. I got to ask this. If Patrick Corbin comes out for the 4th inning, throws 1 pitch, gives up a double, and is immediately taken out, why was he out there? That's my question. But, I'm not a big league manager. Maybe one day. But, yeah, I thought it was a great chance for the Braves to get their feet wet. I've thought it since I found out that's what who the Braves were playing. Of course, from there they go to the Cardinals, which I think, you're slowly getting better in those teams. You go from the Nationals to the Cardinals to the Padres, who are actually a postseason contender. The Cardinals could be, but they have a lot to figure out. They have, of course, losing Pujols, but also losing Yadier Molina. They just have a lot to figure out. They have a lot of young talent. I think they could be good. They're to me what the 2018 Braves were, maybe to a lesser degree, but they're a team that could be there, but also could have some trouble. But you go from the Nationals to the Cardinals, that's obviously a step up going from one to the next. From there you go to the Padres. I think it gives the Braves a chance to get their feet wet, get some rhythm, and heading into that Padres series. I think that's a good thing. And we'll, of course, see, the Braves and the Padres have had pretty good series over the past few years. The Padres, I believe, are still down Fernando Tatis Jr., so that's something to keep in mind. But plenty to be excited for in the next few weeks, I would think. Let's see. Okay, Corey, I'm sorry. I just mean in general. Corey's calling me out. I know they didn't play Austin P in the first game, but it's a game to fill a week is what I'm getting at. But when they open, it's just a tune-up series. I know they didn't play him first this year, but when that happens, that's to me what it is. Jameson says, yeah, just like how back in the day, my Nebraska Cornhuskers would face a team like Pacific for the first game of the season. Yeah, exactly. Steve Hampton, Gowden is great. It's going to take some time for me to adjust to him. I really like Chip Carey, and I do miss him. I like Chip Carey a lot. I've talked about that pretty extensively here on the channel for a number of reasons. Not only his broadcast style, but he was really good to me in the early part of this. That's a story for another day. Not going to waste time on that here now. But, no, I'm a big Chip Carey fan. But, hey, it's a new era, new things. Chip's home in St. Louis. It's not like he got fired. He's doing what he wants to do, and we have Gowden now. Jameson says it would be nice for us to be able to do a little better with runners in scoring position. I don't disagree with that. I think we left 10 men on base again. We're right in mid-season form. as much as I agree with that, it is the opening day. You kind of have to take what you get there. The Braves didn't score with any kind of electricity today. It was more it was fundamental. Like a lot of infield hits got them on base, and I mean they're facing a new pitcher every inning. It's not like they can get any kind of rhythm there, but very interesting. Steve Hampton says, hope Birdie comes back next year. We lost 2 from Louisville this year, Duvall and Bird. Yeah, obviously hated to lose Paul Bird. Really enjoyed the segments he does, at the dugout and that kind of thing. And his reasons for leaving are valid. I don't think anybody would question them. But yeah, I hope we can get to a point where he feels secure enough to, be able to come back and be a part of the Braves broadcast. He always brought something to it and made them better. So, hopefully that'll be the case. Bill Gates says, it was so bright today, it was hard to follow the ball through the infield dirt, so no wonder there were a lot of errors in today's game. Exactly. Agreed. A lot of people are going to kind of underscore how much of an effect the sun has on fielders. It does. I would venture to say, that play at third with Riley when he missed the ball, it jumped on him. That's a play Riley kind of makes on a regular basis. Wouldn't surprise me if sun was a factor there. Obviously, Orlando Arce misses an infield pop fly. Just couldn't read it. Luckily, I didn't see any huge plays. There was the miscommunication between Ozzie Albies and Michael Harris in the outfield at the start of the game. That was one. There's a lot of things like that. For me, I chalk it up to opening day. I chalk it up to the sunlight. I don't think it's actually the level of our defense. I think our defense is much better than what they showed today. But, under those circumstances, what can you do? That's just my thoughts. Okay, hang on a second. I need to check something real quick. Stay with me. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Hang on. I'm checking the Phillies score. Because if it's what I just saw, wow. The Rangers are up 9-5 on the Phillies. I said over the offseason after the Rangers made those moves that I thought they could be pretty good. And, so far they've proven me right. I can only imagine who's pitching. So they're up 9-5. The Rangers threw out Jacob deGrom. He threw 3 2/3, which is, interesting. Not to say it means anything. It is opening day. He gave up 5 earned runs. Now they hand it off to the bullpen. Robbie Grossman has 3 RBIs because of that 3-run homer. Guys, the Rangers are going to be a pretty good team this year. And, you got on that team, Marcus Semien playing today, Corey Seager, Nathaniel Lowe, Adolis Garcia, Robbie Grossman, Jacob deGrom's pitching. I mean, they got some guys. And they're going to win some ball games this year. And if they can win a few against the Phillies, by all means. Let's go ahead and be first in the division, shall we? Let's see. Okay. Chip Carey is just a great human being. I cannot deny that. Guys, we got just a few more minutes, and I'm going to just remind you, Super Chats do get priority. But I got to be out of here. I'm probably going to leave in the next 5 minutes, so just be aware of that. I'll just tell you who I'm interviewing. I'm interviewing Kevin Krause. I know you don't know who that is. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Kevin Krause is the new PA announcer, and he is giving me some time to interview him via Zoom later. That interview will most likely be out tomorrow, maybe Saturday, but I'm going to get it to you as quick as I can. I'm going to introduce you to him, let you get to know him, and he'll tell you his background, that kind of thing. If you have any questions for him, feel free to go ahead and ask me in the chat through Super Chat, and I'll be glad to write them down and ask him for you. But he is Kevin Krause. He is the new PA announcer. Of course, he is filling the spot of a good friend of mine, Casey Motter, who passed away last year. Of course, most of you, I assume, would know that. But he is taking that spot. Big shoes to fill, but I'm sure he's excited about it. We're excited to have him. So we're going to get to know him a little later on. Looking forward to doing that. But, again, that interview will come out either tomorrow or Saturday. I probably Saturday. The Marlins are tied with the Mets to keep I'll be watching baseball tonight quite a bit. But, yeah, that's kind of where we are right now. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. But yeah, a great opening day against the Nationals. Braves win it 7-2. Max Fried's on the IL. Hate to see that, but all in all, offense was on par today, and that's all we can ask for. The bullpen showed out. So as hate to see Max Fried hurt, but also good to see that the other aspects of the team were on all cylinders. Love to see that. So with that said, guys, really do appreciate you tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate your support of the channel. On your way out, do me a favor, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay updated. We try to do these streams throughout the year, at least once a week, to be active with you guys and kind of just go through the season with you, give you our thoughts. Really heats up around the trade deadline, of course, the postseason, but we want to go ahead and get an early start. Of course, opening day is the best time to do that. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you, Jameson. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Philip Nichols, thank you as well for the super chat. Guys, also remember you can follow me on social media if you want to talk to me, have questions for me about the Braves. You can do that via Twitter would probably be the best place, or Instagram, but that is right there. And of course, you can find On Deck merch over there at the shop. So with that said, guys, really appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.